Test, test, test. One, two, three.
Hello?
Hey, James, it's Elias.
What's up?
Hey, brother, thanks for making time. I appreciate that.
No problem at all.
You back home already?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I was
good.
in the gym today. Just got home.
Excellent, excellent, man. So I wanted to just kind of start at the beginning of this particular fight story. Were you already out in Houston to corner folks, or did you accept it on short notice back home in Missouri?
No, I was in Houston.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Because I know you had a number of Factory X people out there. I wasn't sure you were
I was
cornering.
cornering Yusuf Zalal for sure.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Cool. And when did it get proposed to you? When did you get aware of the possibility of jumping on the card?
Probably 2:30. It got brought up,
Hmm.
and they were leaving for the weigh-ins at 3:30. So I mean, I I passed the. I mean, I was the still wasn't on when they left for weigh-ins. I had to catch my own shuttle.
Were you pretty close to 186 at that point already, 185, or did you have to drop any?
No, I was close. I was on. So
When you what went into you being interested and wanting to do it? I mean, maybe it's a simple answer. Maybe there's different things that you had to check off in order to be interested. But why did you decide to do it?
I mean, I guess I think the better question for me would have been why not? You know what I mean? Like I feel like I was in a good position. They needed me. It was a good spot for me to gain my stock. Uh, I felt pretty awesome about it. To be honest with you, I like the matchup. I still like the matchup. I would do it again in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Your opponent obviously is an excellent fighter. Given the win streak you were on, and the fact that he wasn't on a win streak, even though he's a great fighter, did that ever did that ever register in your mind as like something to consider? A lot of fighters are game and gutsy, and they'll fight on short notice, but they'll still make these internal calculations like, hey, is it the right ranked opponent? If I beat him, will people really give me credit? Will they not give me credit? Is that stuff that really didn't go through your head, or is it something that you had to consider?
Well, I mean, I feel like it was. I feel like it was pretty. I feel like I made the right decision. 100%. I feel like I made the right decision. Uh, and looking back on the week, I even more think so now than I did when I took it. I honestly didn't think it was a huge deal whenever I took it. You know what I mean? But like, obviously, everybody else went crazy about it, so I didn't think anything of it. But apparently, it was a big deal. So like, we just I guess stuck with it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really think it was a big deal. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Um, yeah, that's what that's the only thing that keeps coming in my head. Like I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like everybody else went crazy about it later, but to me, I'm from the Midwest. I've done that a bunch of times early
Yeah.
in my career, so I just was like, screw it, man. It was a good opportunity for me. Obviously, it was a good move. I think because the press I got alone from it was ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just felt like it was a great move, and it put me in a position where I could ask for more money. And I just like I said, I loved everything about it.
Well, it certainly went um, well. Like you said, you feel even better about the decision now than you did even then, and that's understandable. Obviously, you didn't get the scorecard decision, and we could talk more about that in a second. So I think that there's some interesting or some rough things there to consider. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you got a lot of attention from it. It was an amazing fight. You fought really, really well and deservedly, even though if you don't understand why, deservedly you're getting a lot of attention from it. I want to talk about the weight class itself. I don't know. I didn't know offhand if you had ever fought a middleweight before, James. I know you used to fight a lightweight. Obviously, now you've been up at winning at welterweight. When you're now looking back and being in there in the fight, you guys fought all three rounds. You guys both hit each other a bunch of times. Did the punches feel much different compared to the welterweight guys?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely they did. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. Really, I feel like the big difference was the stopping power. Not really like the he never really hurt me or anything like that, but like it was more like he moved me. Whenever every time he hit me, it moved me. If that
Mm.
makes any
It
sense, you know.
does. Yeah.
It always would knock me off my feet, kind of, and knock me off balance. So yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, it was a difference. It was a really big difference actually. So other than that, I mean, I didn't I didn't feel like the size played a huge factor in anything. I felt like I was game the whole time. I felt like I won the fight. To be honest with you, I really do feel like I won the fight. I think if we were to fight again, I think I would, shit. Given the same circumstances, it's hard for me to say anything because I feel like I won. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like I
Right.
don't want to act like I lost because I don't think I did. And the judge that had me losing the fight gave him round one. So to me, that's just absolutely like that's a joke, man. Like I can't even take you seriously if you think that you know what I mean. Like
Yep.
I don't even know what to say to that. It's absurd. It's an absurd call for me, like to even think that somebody thought that you know what I mean. Like how in any realm can you give somebody that round? I just don't. I don't understand it. Uh, I guess that's not why I guess that's why I'm not an MMA judge, though.
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk about that more. I wanted to talk some more about the grappling and some other stuff later, but let's jump into that because yeah, there was one you lost a split decision. One of the judges saw it for you. Um, Another judge, Joe, was it Silva is his last name, um, gave your opponent the first round, even though you took him down, had his back
Solis.
for
Joey
Solis.
Solis,
That's
right?
what it is, right? Let me see. Yeah, is it Joe Solis? Let me look this up. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
thanks for
Solis.
correcting me. Joe Solis out of Texas, commission there. Thanks, James. Yeah, he gave your opponent round one, even though you had the takedown, you had his back. But then he gave you round two. And
No, he
it's
gave me round three. He gave
is
me
that
round
right?
two and gave me round three.
Did he? Okay, see, I'm looking at something. I'm looking at MMA decisions. It might have been. I don't have the screenshot. So the fact that he gave you other rounds, but not the round that was obviously yours, it's got to be maddening because that's the difference between winning and losing. And like so for me personally, I thought the first round you clearly won. Good round for sure. He eventually got out and all that. The third round I gave to you as well. So I gave you 1 and 3. I thought third was competitive, but I gave it to you. I thought you landed more often. I thought you pushed the pace while you were landing more often. Second round was competitive, but he ended it in a strong position, so I gave it
Oh
to you.
yeah, he beat my ass in the second round, no doubt.
Yeah, and yeah, and Joe Solis. I mean, again, I thought he gave you the second. Oh no, yeah, he gave Giles that, so he gave you the third. So it's got to be maddening at that point. And you mentioned it's why you're not an MMA judge, but I really think we need more. We need more former fighters as judges and referees. I know there's a couple out there that have done some of that stuff. I think Ricardo Almeida that does some judging. I know Frank Trigg does some refereeing and stuff like that. Obviously, Herb Dean as a ref, he used to fight a little bit as a pro. What do you when you and this is clearly not the first bad decision you've seen or decision you disagree with from a fighter perspective, from a coaching perspective. More often than not, James, what do you, if you're honest, what do you attribute it to? Is it straight out ignorance, guys who maybe don't know fighting, in your opinion, coming up with the wrong decision, or are there other forces at play?
Uh, there's no accountability. There's no reason for them to be right.
Hmm.
They're getting paid shit.
Hmm.
I mean, if they get it wrong, they don't. They sleep fine at night. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like if I get it wrong, I get my ass beat. You know what I mean? It's like there's no accountability.
Hmm.
There's you know what I mean? They get paid the same. They get to come back the next week and do it again.
Hmm.
There's and they're the higher power. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing else. There's you just never see anything done about that stuff,
Hmm.
man. And it's like that's what I said. It's like there is absolutely no accountability. There's no prerequisites to be a judge. There's no continuous study. There's no reason for them to be good.
That's a good point. I like to say there's no prerequisites and there's no like continued study or education required. I think by and large that's the case. These are usually political positions, right? Like the heads of
Well, yeah.
athletic
If
commissions.
I'm a friend and I'm controlling and I have I have 10 jobs that pay $50,000 a year. I'm going to give them to my friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, regardless of if they don't, I'm not going to personally do that. But I
Right.
see that. I see, and not to mention, I mean, man, let's take away the actual shit judges to begin with. But like, we're already off on the wrong start because we're judging on a system that it doesn't even it doesn't have to do with our sport, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. We're using a scoring system from a different sport.
Yeah.
Ping pong and tennis are not played the same.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, they look similar, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about two different sports. It needs its own scoring. It needs updated. Okay, cool. I get that there's 50 different states that have thousands of different organizations that are all regulated by the state. So we all have to get under agreement. So there's no one certain governing body. So it's very difficult to change the rules throughout all 50 states. Look, I get that. Okay, cool. It's hard to change it for the 50 states. Then at least tell me if I'm winning or not. Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, it's not high-level math here. That's why they put the damn scoreboard on a basketball game, so we know who's winning.
So you're talking about open scoring, like letting we the audience, you all know, like New Jersey does that, for example, with boxing and stuff. Talking about open scoring, is that right? Like, so we know what the score is as we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, so we know what the hell is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you can make tactical adjustments and strategy. Like, even if you disagree with where the score is, if you know it's at a place that puts you behind when you thought you guys were ahead, you could maybe, swing for the fences or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I'm so frustrated over the deal. I mean, dude, we're talking about. Oh, I don't even want to get into it. It pisses me off. These guys at the end of the day. These guys have the ability to change people's lives, and it's not fair that there's no accountability, no prerequisite, no continuous learning, and they have no consequence for their decision. It's not fair. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous to me.
One of the reasons judges have so much powers, and to some extent in certain situations, maybe a ref, is because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I'm talking from the outside, is because you guys are in a structure that there's show money and there's win money. So obviously, if someone gets it wrong, having no blame to the fighters one way or the other, a judge can get it wrong, and then someone's livelihood is affected drastically. Judging is one issue. What about just the basic economics of the way payment is done for you all who aren't considered employees? You're not unionized, and it's not. Some people get standard base, one sum. Some people work that out. Some highly paid people.
Only the biggest guys in the UFC.
Exactly.
Bellator maybe, but they're not doing that with anybody. Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah. So I mean, how much of these issues can we approach through that? Like, hey, let's just change the structure and the way and the amount, of course, that the fighters are paid.
Well, I mean, you're bringing up a separate problem. That it is a problem that needs to be addressed, but still, even with that, okay, so let's just go for a second. Let's just talk about. I don't want to shift gears, but
sure.
The wins and losses we're talking about in a sport where it's ruthless. You lose 3 times in a row, bro, you're cut.
True.
I've seen guys lose 2 split decisions in a row, and then they drop, maybe good or bad or whatever. Then they drop one legitimate fight and they're out.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the majority of the people could have thought that I won that fight. You know what I mean? I haven't had one person tell me I lost that fight. And look, Twitter is ruthless. Right? I have not seen Twitter, Instagram. They're all ruthless. I have not seen one single person say that I lost that fight. Not one. I'm sure they're out there.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I haven't seen one person. There's 2 people on this planet that I have heard think I lost that fight, and they're the damn only 2 people that matter.
Yeah.
The judges. So it's like, it's frustrating, man. It's like,
of course.
But I mean, also, we're not for sure. I would like my win money too. That's a separate issue. Because I think we're farther away from that than we are the rule changes, unionizing, and all that stuff. But I don't know, man. It's a young sport. These are growing pains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're gonna have this stuff, but we're talking about something that we could change tomorrow. Tomorrow, open scoring tomorrow. Done. You know what I mean? Like, why are we not utilizing the tools that are at our dispense?
Some
So
of the
yeah,
back to
just that makes
the
sense.
no, yeah, absolutely. Back to some of the positives, the things you did well. I am curious, given that you had no camp for this, and I'm sure you were training, obviously, but that's different than camp. Did that at all in the brief hours you had to start thinking of about the fight, James? Did that at all affect your your strategic approach or your tactical approach? Did you think, oh, I got to go for I've got to, if I get a chance to finish, I've got to finish early because I don't know if I can, go 3 rounds. Obviously, you were able to go 3 rounds, but I'm just curious how the lack of a camp may have affected or influenced the way you were going into the fight tactically or strategically.
It really did, man. I
Hmm.
was in decent shape, not fight shape. Obviously, if you watch the fights that I have plenty of time to prepare, I don't really get tired. It's never really an issue. But like coming off the couch, quite literally, uh, I wasn't in the best shape. I wasn't out of shape by any means, but I pushed my strength conditioning or my cardio was better than his. I felt like
Yeah.
he was slow. I was pushing the pace in the third. I was pushing the action. You know what I mean? Not him. So, uh, no, it did. You don't really have time to adjust. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm gonna
Mm,
go out and knock out. I'm not expecting to knock out a middleweight.
right.
You know what I mean? Like in round one. Yeah, at that point, with that little amount of time, you don't really have time to make adjustments. It's just
Mm-hmm.
go and do it.
It's interesting. Did you think at all in terms of where you thought you would have your best chance of winning, or also did you really not even have time to do that? You just kind of said, "I'm going to respond to what's out there in front of me once I get out there."
Man, I feel like I can. I feel like I can always win at any moment in the fight.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, I felt like there was many chances that I could have won the fight. I felt like I definitely almost finished it in the first,
right.
and I feel like I hurt him a few times with some punches in the third.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, man, it doesn't matter to me. I'm a
Mm,
15-minute fighter usually, so that's
mm.
the kind of the mindset is I can finish 1 through 15 pretty strong. So, uh, I didn't even really take into account that I wasn't in as good of shape. So, yeah, I mean, no, it really didn't change anything for me.
Super interesting.
I went in with the mindset that I was in the same shape I always am, even though I wasn't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I'm sure it influenced your ability to do it. You meant we talked about stopping power, like his ability to maybe like not hurt you per se, but interrupt your rhythm with a shot or move you. What about when you were grappling either on the feet or on the ground? Did that feel much different? I mean, you were very effective with your takedowns and also on the ground defensively on your back and also offensively. Did it feel much different that he was a middleweight or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything just costs more, right? Like,
Mm,
well, you gotta move more weight. You gotta get more weight off you. You gotta receive more power on the punch. The kick is harder. It just costs more. So
yeah,
it's not a huge problem. It just everything costs a little bit more when you're in there with somebody that much bigger than you.
that makes.
So once again, were they factors? Yes. Were they
Mm-hmm,
determining factors? No.
mm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
I feel like I won the fight, man. I really
Right.
do. Uh, I feel strongly about that. Uh,
Did you get a chance to talk to anyone in the UFC, like matchmakers or Dana White,
yes.
afterwards?
Not one person have I talked to that thought I lost. Not one.
That's not hard to believe. Did you guys talk about perhaps like moving forward? Like, hey, what's next for me, guys? I helped you out. What's coming down the pipe? Did you talk to them about when you'd like to fight next? What type of opponent you'd like to get, or are you not there yet?
No, I haven't really discussed it with them. I haven't. I don't really feel like they owe me one or anything like that.
Mm,
They got me a new contract. I filled in for them. It was a win-win for both of us.
mm,
This is a business, man. I understand that. I understand they had it. I had something that they needed, and I understand that they had something I wanted, which was more money. And it was a win-win. So like, they don't owe me anything, and I think that's the problem with some of the younger kids is they go into if they take a tough fight or whatever, like, oh, they'll get me on the next one. No, they won't. You know what I mean? And that's not a shot on the UFC. That's just business. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like, that's business. Like, you gotta make the decision now because a lot of times you get looked over. There, they have 500 other fighters to worry about. They're not gonna remember paying you back. You know what I mean? Like, it
Right,
doesn't work like that, man. Like,
right.
it's it has to be a win-win for both parties. If it's not, then you shouldn't do it.
I guess I didn't even ask in the beginning when you told me what time you heard of the fight or accepted it. Did they come to you, or did you hear about it and
No,
hit
I
them
offered
up?
up.
Wow. So you heard the fight was off, or they were looking for someone, and then you offered up.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the fight was off yet. The fight wasn't off yet. I heard somebody text my manager Jason House and said Arroyo just got carted out of the hotel
Oh,
on a stretcher, and I said, "Well, I'll fight him," and that was that.
wow, that's something, man. Back home now, obviously, bad taste in your mouth from the decision. Hopefully, a good taste in your mouth for your performance, for the reception that you're getting from the media online, from people in the UFC. Um, what's your mindset now? What do you want to be doing? I know you're a busy man with gyms and other fighters and people in camp. What's your plan and where's your head at right now moving forward?
Well, right now I have the rest of my month is pretty tough. Like I'm on the road every weekend this month with other fighters and just getting ready. You know what I mean? So like I don't really I'm just making sure that everybody's good. I was in the gym, back in the gym today.
No.
I have quite a bit of guys getting ready, so I got to help them. You know what I mean? Like it's not about me anymore; it's about them. So yeah, man, I don't really know. I haven't really thought much about the future. And to be honest with you, I don't really have a bad taste in my mouth either. You know what I mean? Like I'm not happy about the decision, but
Sure.
I am happy about. I'm proud of my effort. I left everything out there in the third round. I gave everything I had. I've never been that tired in my entire life. I left everything out there, and I'm super proud of my effort. I'm super proud of my heart that I displayed. I'm super happy with everything that I did, except for the win. And I think they got it wrong. That's my opinion. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm happy with everything that I did. Everything that I can control, I was really proud of myself for. So I'm not going to hang my head low or anything like that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like a loser. You know what I mean? Like I've done 7 interviews today. You know what I mean? Like they don't. You guys don't interview losers usually. So I feel good about it.
That's
So
good.
it's onward and upward, man.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you're feeling that way. I think obviously you should. And even when people lose legitimately, if you put in effort, obviously, especially at that level, everyone should be proud of themselves. And it's a shame that we don't talk to people off of losses more often, right? Because everyone, everyone that gives that honest effort, especially at that level, really
Well,
deserves
it's a
it
winner's sport. You know what I mean?
for
Like
sure.
to the winner goes the spoil. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how it works. It's a
Sure.
winner's sport. It's not your guys' job to interview losers. That's why you guys are interviewing me. You know what I mean? It's man. The circumstances. You know what I mean? Like I entered myself into a win-win position. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
knew that going into it. I knew
Yeah.
there was no way that I could lose. I knew if we put on half of a show at all, or I won, or I finished, I knew there was no way that they couldn't give me a bonus.
Hmm.
I'm not a stupid guy. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I know exactly what was on the table and what needed to be done, and I got what I wanted out of it.